And we have a go for auto sequence start. Discovery's onboard computers have primary control of all the vehicle's critical functions. Start, 2, 1, booster ignition, and liftoff of the Space Shuttle.
Welcome to the Launchpad. I'm your host, Harry Washington, and for those of you just joined us for the first time, this program is sponsored by Pursuing a Dream Corporation. The focus of Pursuing a Dream is to steer students towards degrees and careers in areas of science, technology, engineering, and math. And today's show is very special because we're focusing on mentoring. In January, if you didn't know, is Mentoring Month. Our first guest is Miss Diana Eidenschink from the ACE Mentor Program of America. Diana, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Now, what does the term ACE mean?
ACE stands for Architecture, Construction, and Engineering Mentoring Program.
Now, what's the population that you serve, and what's the mission of ACE?
The mission of ACE is simple. It's to enlighten and engage high school students about the integrated construction industry, architecture, construction, engineering, and all disciplines within the construction industry. And then to support their pursuit of education in those areas to ultimately end up into our industry.
Now, give our viewers an idea. What is the structure of your program?
Our program is structured in that we recruit professionals from the industry and we put them together in a mentoring team, similar to what a design team would look like.
Okay.
We have an owner, we have a construction manager,
Okay.
we have a structural engineer, a civil engineer, mechanical, architect,
Okay.
and we meet with the students in most of the areas every other week for 2 hours after school.
Okay.
And the beginning of the program, we are teaching the kids about what we do. What does an engineer do?
Okay.
What does a structural engineer do?
Okay.
What does a civil engineer, a mechanical engineer?
Okay.
And then the second half of the program, we actually pick a project. For example, Annapolis, Maryland is doing a stadium this year.
Okay.
And so they're going to actually design a stadium. They're going to find a site around Annapolis, and they're going to actually have the students design it and make it stand up, which is what a structural engineer does.
Okay.
So it's a group model mentoring program in that we try to have 3 students for every 1 mentor.
Okay.
So maybe it's 7 to 10 mentors for 20 plus kids.
Okay.
And the idea is to really give them an overall understanding of our industry, not just one career.
Okay.
And what we find is by doing it as a group practice, we find that the kids will then sort of attach themselves to one of the mentors. The mentor, maybe it's in the industry that they're interested in.
Okay. Now, what's the duration of your program? Is it year-long or is it 6 months?
It's in most of the affiliates, it's year-long. They start usually in the first week of November and go to the first week of May. We find any earlier, the schools are just getting started and the kids are not focused on what are they doing after school. And by the beginning of May, they're starting to get ready for the end of the year and their finals. So it's every other week, usually first week of November to the first week of May.
So twice a month they meet with the mentors on this
Yes.
project. And I know you said twice a week. They meet with the
Every
mentors?
other week.
Every other week they meet with the mentors for 2 hours.
2 hours.
Now, where's your program primary station? Is it Maryland, D.C., Virginia, or all 3?
All 3.
Oh,
All
excellent.
3. We have probably if you just look at Northern Virginia, D.C., and Maryland, there's probably about 500 kids, 400 to 500 kids in the program.
That's amazing.
We've got a team in Annapolis, a couple teams in Baltimore, Frederick, Easton, Maryland, and then all around D.C.
Oh, excellent. Now, how do parents get enrolled in your program? How do they enroll their students in your program?
Well, the parents or the students or the schools can have the kids enroll by going to the website.
Okay.
And they simply go on and sign up, and then we'll be in touch with them, and they can get assigned to a team. We find that the most successful way that we recruit is by actually working with the school and having us listed as an after-school activity so that there is someone they can actually go to and say, what is this program about? But anyone can go to the website and look at the program and find the closest team to them.
Now, what's the aim? Because they're doing a lot of things as it relates to occupation, but what's the overall goal for you guys?
The overall goal is to get these students into our industry. Our industry, it's estimated that in probably the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to be about a million jobs short. For every 5 people retiring from the construction industry, we only have 1 coming in.
Wow.
And one of the biggest areas is the trades.
Okay.
We really are struggling to get kids to look at certain trades, but infrastructure. We joked about how driving down here, everything was under construction.
Right.
Infrastructure is a huge area, and we would love to have the future engineers that are going to fix all our infrastructure.
Now, what current initiatives is ACE are they starting or they will begin for 2013?
Actually, we've started. We have two that I'm really excited about.
Okay.
One is we're actually working with AARP.
Oh, excellent.
We have just signed a memo of understanding.
Okay.
And I know you're thinking high school students, AARP, where's the connection?
Right, yes.
A big part of AARP is universal design
Okay.
and making buildings and homes universally accessible to everyone.
Excellent.
And we're going to be working with them to really teach the future architects and engineers of universal design.
Okay.
The other one that I am really excited about is we're working and partnering with colleges and universities across the country with we call it our education collaborative.
Okay.
We want to highlight every school in the country that has one of our disciplines: construction management, engineering, architecture. And then what we wanted the schools to do is partner with us. They'll be able to put all kinds of information on our website for our students, and we're looking for them to earmark some money so that if someone wants to go to University of Maryland and they want to study engineering, there will be some financial help out there for our students.
Excellent. Now, any final words, Diana, before we close the segment?
I just thank you for having us. We are very excited about this opportunity, and we're looking to grow in Maryland and D.C. area. So if anyone's interested, get in touch.
Not a problem. That's our segment. We'll be back. Welcome back to the Launchpad. I'm your host, Harry Washington, and today we're joined by somebody who's synonymous in the community for building future leaders, Mr. Robert Malone of Mentoring to Manhood. Robert, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Harry. I appreciate it.
Now, what influenced the creation of Mentoring to Manhood?
Influence. I would say influence would be society, seeing what's happening in the neighborhood, watching the news. Essentially, there were a number of guys who were watching the same storylines, feeling the same pressures, feeling the same sadness, who felt like we wanted to make a difference. And there came a point when we started. We went from thinking and wanting to do something to stepping out and contacting a school. We started with Largo High School and just started from there, from 2005.
Okay, Largo High School in Prince George's County.
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent. Yeah. And since 2005, since last appearing on the show, what have been some of your successes?
Well, a lot of successes. We couldn't have imagined this because our goal was to simply find some boys to mentor, to work with, and Mentoring to Manhood has grown into one of the largest mentoring programs for African American boys in the Greater Washington area. Right. We were selected by the Catalog for Philanthropy as one of the best small nonprofits throughout all of Greater Washington, which is a huge accomplishment. Right. Only 4% of the organizations they've selected have been in Prince George's County, so we felt strongly about being a part of that.
Excellent.
And then what's most important is to see the boys improve. And because we're on air, I won't say specific names, but we've seen boys go from 1.7 to honor roll.
Oh, excellent.
We have seen attitudes. Matter of fact, we had a board meeting this week. One of the students came with a parent, and his attitudes, social skills, ability to take criticism and instruction are much improved. And so that's what we aim to achieve.
Now, let's talk about the boys for a minute.
Yes.
What age group do you serve?
We start at 12 and work our way up. Most of our students are in high school or middle school, so most of them are in school.
Okay.
Yeah.
And has there been any continuing following of these boys after they leave your program?
Well, we'd like to do more. That's a tough question because we'd love to do more, but more requires resources. And so we really focus on them at the time they're in school. But it's so exciting to see students at a restaurant in the local area. Or, matter of fact, I had a meeting earlier this week, walking out the door, and there's a student right there, just finished University of Maryland, doing a great job, productive citizen. So these boys are doing fantastic. And what you can also see is, change takes time. So while we can point to specific students and say, look at their progress, in the aggregate, you don't see it all the time. But we know, we have evidence that shows that those seeds were planted and they're growing, because now we see guys who are in college and in professional work and doing extremely well. So that's what makes us proud and keeps us going.
Now, describe a successful mentoring relationship.
Well, two kind of relationships, actually. We do a mix of group mentoring and one-on-one. Groups are in typically groups of 6 to 8 boys to a mentor. We'd always love to have more mentors. You know how that goes.
Exactly.
And so mentors follow up with them, make a phone call during the week just to check in, how you doing. We have great activities on Saturday, every weekend at Kettering Middle School, and so we're getting together and interacting with boys. And then we have fantastic one-on-one relationships that are just amazing, because one-on-one is really where it happens. And so those are just opportunities for men to really invite a young person into their world, and then to also, just as importantly, into the young world of the young man.
Now, what are some of the current initiatives for Mentoring and Manhood?
A lot of change going on. I guess 2013 must be the year of change. We're continuing to expand. We're looking to go to a third school. Won't name the school yet, but we're looking to go to a third school now. We're in 2 schools right now. We are adding new board members at this time, and so there are great minds and talents here in Prince George's County and throughout Greater Washington that we're adding to the leadership team and the board of directors. And we anticipate very shortly announcing a new executive director. It's always been our intention to find someone to do it permanently. I've been a volunteer actually for 8 years, which is unbelievable. It's been 8 years, but we've matured to the point where it's necessary to have someone that takes this as a serious full-time job and has a leadership responsibility. So we'll be expecting to make announcements on that as soon as next week.
Now, final words. Anything you want to say to our viewers?
I would just encourage people, this is National Mentoring Month. Right?
Yes, it is.
So January every year is national, and so they'll see things on TV. There'll be telethons. There'll be things at the just community events. And so typically people get inspired for a moment and then forget the inspiration. But I encourage people to keep that inspiration. If you feel led to mentor, there are a number of mentoring organizations in the area. Find one conveniently located for you and get involved. And just know, anyone can be a mentor. And I'll say that because if you have any friends in your life, that means you can be a mentor.
Excellent. We'd like to thank Mr. Long for joining us. We'll be back. Welcome back to the Launchpad. I'm your host, Harry Washington, and we're joined by 2 individuals that work in the mentoring field, Ms. Diana Eidenschink and Mr. Robert Malone. Thanks again for joining us for this panel segment. What have been some of the struggles that you guys have had working in the mentoring field?
You looking at me?
I guess
never
I
had
was.
any struggles.
Oh, you never had any struggles. Wow, you're lucky. One of the biggest struggles we have is recruiting the students, because we're competing against other after-school activities, sports clubs, so forth, jobs. And then keeping them and retaining them and keeping them excited and seeing that there is a reason they should keep coming. And so recruiting students is one of our biggest struggles.
Because the age group you work with is, what's the age group again?
9 through 12.
I'm sure definitely with 9 to 12 has definitely been a struggle. What about in terms of the parents? Speak about the parents. How has the relationship with the parents been?
Well, we've seen a lot of improvement in that particular area. It used to be a challenge a couple of years ago, but what we did was we started a parent committee.
Oh, excellent.
And so what we did was we set up a parent committee. We invited that parent chair of that committee to be on the actual governing board. And the purpose of that chair position was to work with the other parents to build a network, to structure roundtable discussions that were relevant for parents, to re-emphasize what we're talking to the kids about so they could enforce it during the week. And so I think that's an area we've made a lot of improvement. But challenges, finances are always a challenge. Finding more mentors are always a challenge. So that's sort of commonplace in mentoring organizations.
Well, how do you guys find committed people to stay focused and help you with your mission?
Well, we're really lucky in that we have incredible support from national corporations, from our industry, that have committed mentors. So in some of the areas, like in Baltimore, we know Company X will guarantee us 5 mentors. It may not be the same 5 mentors every year. So we try not to recruit on an individual basis, but more on a corporate basis, which has worked really well. It makes it a little less stressful each year to recruit our mentors.
Now, what about the schools? How is it hard building this collaboration with these schools?
Yes.
What's been the issue?
Well,
and
that
now there might be some school teachers and administrators
well, hopefully
watching.
They're listening, because I get asked. I work with affiliates from DC through Maine, and almost every affiliate asks the question, how do we get the schools to pay attention to us? And the problem is, we know everyone in the school are focused on so many different things, and we are just one little program. But what we have found is we have to find a champion in the school. We have to find someone who gets it. Someone who says, oh, our students have to be involved in this. We're free. I mean, the school doesn't have to do anything but help us get their students.
Right.
So yes, that would be wonderful. If anyone who's out there listening is part of a school, give us a call. We would love to work with them.
And what's your relationship been like, Rob?
I would sort of echo. I mean, just knowing what the schools are like. I mean, they're very challenged with, you know, lots of kids, understaffed, cutbacks year after year.
Right.
So it's challenging for them. I guess a benefit for us is we've kind of been doing this now for 8 years, and so we're kind of settled in the schools where we're located. We'd like to have a stronger partnership with some of the teachers, like our tutors reach out to teachers for feedback so they can work specifically with students on where they need help. But we understand it's challenging, so we do our best to reach out and continue to partner with them.
And I don't want to just focus on the negative, but what's been some of your successes?
Oh, the schools that have gotten it or have had a champion. There's schools in certain cities where we've got 40 of their students involved in the program, and we're helping that. You know, there was one school in Philadelphia that actually we had 10 kids get scholarships. Baltimore, same thing. We had, I think, one school that got 5 scholarships. So the schools that get it, that partner with us, we really help their kids.
Actually, what about you, Rob?
Well, you're hearing the word partnership, right? I mean, partnership it's a lifeblood of nonprofit organizations, right? So the school community, the parents, the students, the mentors, the neighbors, the corporations. I would say one challenge we haven't talked about today is the challenges of getting business folks in our area to contribute, get involved, to share their expertise. That, I say, is a desert for some reason in Prince George's County. I don't know if it's the construct and the makeup of our business infrastructure in this area, and the fact that we've got a lot of folks commuting out to DC to work every day. But it certainly would be helpful to us as nonprofits to have a stronger business community and a stronger partnership with the business community.
Well, let me ask you this. In terms of, and I hate to go back and forth, but in terms of looking at your population, that inner city student, how do you motivate them? I mean, really, because we don't talk enough about the population that you serve. How do you motivate them?
Well, we have found that the best way to motivate them is to bring back a student that has had a success. You know, in Baltimore, we had a student that had graduated, is working towards their engineering degree, and said they would never be where they were without ACE. And I'm always talking to the kids about is this is more than an after-school activity. This is an activity for your future, networking. Whether you come into our industry or not, this is a great way to learn just basic business information. And actually, if you decide not to be in our industry, we've ruled out one thing you don't want to do. You have one less thing.
Excellent. And what final words from either one?
I would just quickly chime in on what Diana said. You know, what's I think probably true about both of our programs is there's a diversity of student range too. We've got honor roll students, we've got students with 0.00, and so I don't want any listeners out there thinking mentoring's only for bad inner city at-risk juveniles. Mentoring's for all young
everybody.
Folks. And motivation is a tough thing to come by. So the benefit is having diversity. One, having different programs, but even within ACE and with Mentoring to Manhood, there's diversities of experiences and fields that we entered. And so you never know what's going to spark that flame. But the joy is when you see it get sparked, these are intelligent young folks that are just flying under the radar screens. And if we could just reach them where they are, we see amazing things happen.
And the other thing is both of you are open to collaborations as well.
Oh, absolutely. And I will tell you, I think the mentors get as much out of it as the kids. They really do. And to watch them watch these kids is just amazing.
Excellent. That's our segment. Thank you for joining us.